This is one of the biggest things that I probably clash with people about. I think when you start a business, you have to figure out what the end is first. You got to treat it like a GPS.
Yep.
To know how to work backwards from that. And because I'm either going to die doing it, I'm going to sell it, or it's going to go out of business. Right. Yeah. So those are three really important things to understand when you're investing time and money into these things to grow. Right. So, but until I think every business, 100% of the world has a lead problem. I think we're all trying to grow. A third of your budget marketing. That's right where I try to stay.
Yeah. Marketing is I think it's the most complicated and complex of our business problems these days, right? Everyone's got a great idea. It's all about execution. So let's say that you have a great idea and you can execute on it. If you can't land marketing right now, you have no business.
Let's go.
Period.
Golly, my sound effects are down right now, but I'm pounding the heck out of it over here.
We'll fist bump on that. And it is marketing. Nobody appreciates how hard marketing is right now. Because as you said, if you look at paid social and paid search, there's so much noise. It is so expensive.
Yeah.
Organic marketing is extremely difficult, unless you're if you're a national brand, it's a different thing, but as a startup. And so how you're reaching and touching your customers is so complex now in a way that it wasn't even 10 years ago. So I look at every new business opportunity from the lens of how in the name of God are we going to be able to market this? Because to me, there's no point in moving forward with anything unless you can overcome that marketing challenge.
One of the books that changed my life was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Love that book.
Great book.
And it's funny, if you read that book and then you listen to Dave Ramsey talk, there's two experts saying polar opposite things. But what most folks I think don't realize is are they talking to you or talking to somebody else? Because we're not all the same.
That's right.
Right. So every business has an avatar or a client base that they're aiming at. Steakhouses usually aren't leaning heavy on vegetarians to come in and spend money, right? So, how does a business choose the right marketing agency or marketing support when they're trying to do that? So,
this is a bad week to be asking me this question.
All right,
because I'm having some turmoil with my business around that. I think it's hard, and I think it also evolves, right? You start with somebody that does a really great job, and then maybe that's not a forever relationship, in my opinion. Yeah. And I think as brands grow, but also the landscape is changing. I mean, with AI, with the development of all the things that are happening with digital and paid. Everything's changing on a weekly basis. I mean, it is so hard to figure out what that looks like, and the algorithms change, and whether you can nail TikTok. I mean, we have not had much success on TikTok, but we've had enormous success with Instagram and Facebook, obviously, but our audience is more Instagram. So, we look at our strategies every single week. We are, I wish we could rest on our laurels and find something that works and then just sit back and watch the customers come in, but we just can't. And I don't really think maybe you can. I don't know about the podcast world, but I don't think any business can do that anymore. I think it's a constant evolution of strategy.
Oh, and the strategy is I feel like there's a better word for strategy that we need to use, because that's the whole thing. Like when the Hit Lab became an actual agency and we were serving clients, it was like content fatigue was a real thing.
That's right.
Day 91 was everybody's breaking point.
That's right.
And it dawned on me one day that I was like, we all went to school for 13 years. If I'd have been in there 8-9 years and I didn't know that I was that close to getting out, I'd be like, dude, I'm out. You know what I mean? If I didn't know what grade I was in.
Yeah.
And so it's understanding the strategy, it's understanding the end and where you're at in that journey. It's like, are we there yet? Over and over and over again. And so when you can meet with those people each month, first of all, you establish an overall strategy, but then there's milestones along the way, just like losing weight or anything else. You're going to have things to measure on a regular basis, so you can pivot and make sure that you're moving in the right direction and at the pace you need to be moving. Right. So
that's right. And I think also, you've got the economy, there's sort of outside forces, especially when you're dealing with a brick and mortar in tourist destinations like a Las Vegas or a Nashville. Who's the customer on any given weekend, because we're marketing, especially in Las Vegas, we have a new customer base every 72 hours.
Wow.
So think about that. We have to touch those people from the second they land and get them through our doors. And it's a new audience. So we have a robust locals business, both in Las Vegas and Nashville, but 80% of our business is tourists in those two markets.
Wow. I guess that makes sense.
So that's a huge marketing challenge.
Agreed. There's hardly any momentum to ride on that stuff. It's all through partnerships. It's got to be, right?
It's partnerships and our guests that are posting. So that content goes viral and people see it in their hometowns. And we are very, very lucky that we've created an environment that lends itself to that.
Is there any, in your opinion, is there any better place that a business, let's say, we'll say small to medium size, okay? We'll say like just somewhere in the 7-figure range. Is there anywhere else that they could spend their marketing money better than making sure that when people are looking at that screen in their hand that they're on it?
Nope. That is, 90% of our budget is allocated to that because that is, you're touching people where they live on their phones, which is one of the problems we're trying to solve for, which is ironic, but it is true. You have to touch them on their phones. You can't reach your customer any other place, out of home, billboards, magazines, all the stuff that we used to do in the old days. It used to be, billboards, PR, and newspapers and magazines. And that's how you'd build your strategy. None of that stuff works anymore. It's great as a supplement, but there's a reason that Meta and Google are as big as they are, because that is the only place to reach your customers.
And do you with the so you said 90% of y'all's budget is going towards that, well, even as a man of faith, Jesus told his disciples, go where they are. You got to go where they're at. And that's where people are at. And I think that's the hardest thing this isn't new, but it is still to a lot of people. And I think there's two reasons that people don't start something. Either they don't believe the hype is real and what it is they're starting, or they don't believe they can actually do it, which just basically just means they're uneducated and just don't know what they don't know. If they knew how to get started, they probably would. So what advice would you have for those that are literally like those two dudes that I spoke to while I was out of town this past weekend, that reached out saying, hey, this is what I want to do next. And I was like, well, here's what I propose, here's the data behind it, so on and so forth. And they're like, yeah, I need to think about that.
Nope.
And it's like, well, all right. So first of all, your spot's gone. You leave the Shark Tank, the deal's over.
Done.
But I'm like, dude, what's there to think about? Talk to me about that.
I think that the entrepreneur mindset, though, is not everybody's mindset. I think it is a very specific personality type, somebody that is not risk adverse. I'd say as an entrepreneur, I don't sleep at night. Whether if I'm working, I'm not sleeping at night, and I might just be up all night with anxiety, right? I mean, because there is something to worry about 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when you start your own business.
Yeah.
You've got payroll, you've everything around whatever vertical your business is in. There is something that can keep you up at night. And it's not for everybody. Many people like and should be in 9-to-5 jobs, where I always say to my investors, I'm like, God, that person doesn't look that stressed. Like they're walking out of their job at 5:00. They're heading home to, they're going to have
facts.
Dinner with their husband and wife. They're going to watch a little TV and they're going to go to bed and start all over. So it is a very specific warrior mentality to start a business. And it is like being at war every single day.
That's it.
Whether it's your customers or your staff or growing or, or your strategy, there is something that you're at war with every single day. So I think that, being able to jump off the diving board into that pool is a huge leap for most people. And it's a commitment, right? I mean, how many days a week do you take off?
I don't even know what that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's not for everybody. People like their Saturdays and Sundays. And, for me, I love what I do so much that I don't mind working 7 days a week, but it is not for everybody.
I agree. Everybody can't be the owner. There's got to be some employees. There's got to be some other folks out there, right?
That's right. And also, you know what? That's what makes the world go round. But I do think, you can't be afraid of failure. I think every day you have to, take it to the limit, and you have to be okay with failure. I think that's like my biggest lessons I've learned have been around failure. Success is easy. It's fun.
Right.
But you learn the most when something doesn't work.
How do people build confidence in something they haven't done before?
Well, I think it's so much easier now with technology, right?
Facts.
Because you can figure out a pain point in your life right now and go build that without big teams, without anything, with AI and with technology. And even if it's not a technology company, even if it's a, brick and mortar or something that you're doing in your hometown, the resources you have to go research to figure out how to do that and how to execute on it. We've never lived like this before. It's amazing. I mean, my investor would be really pissed if I said I spent half my day doing that, but like it is, something pops into your head and you're just like, you can deep dive in like 15 minutes, become an expert in something. It's pretty amazing.
One of the greatest compliments that a person can get is when somebody invests in them. Like
that's right.
It's and it's literally life changing. And that's why you stay up at night. It's because all the people that are in your charge.
That's right.
You stay up at night for them, not for you, not for yourself. That's the difference between entrepreneurs and everybody else. Is their entrepreneurs focus all their focus out, while everybody else is usually kind of focused in, which again, that's natural. It's not a
perfect
knock.
way to say that.
Yeah.
And you think about the orders of magnitude of that, right? So we have around 250 employees between the two venues and our executives. But you think about their husbands and wives, their children, their parents, their families, and sort of all of the ripple effect of that in their communities. So it is a huge, it's something that you think about every day, and responsibility to those people.
My wife and I, we're 50-50 on pretty much everything. And, for us, what keeps us up is, or actually the thing that we really measure is all the people that work with us is, are they winning at home? Like personally, are they winning at home? And one, they perform better when they are, but if they're not, then that lets us know there's something wrong on our end. That's because usually those problems at home, not all the time, but a lot of times they're caused from stress that's taken home from work. Yeah.
How do you deal with work ethic with the younger generation?
Well, it goes down to choices. So the thing that I'm that we're really like crazy focused on with my son is my son's dream is he's and this is a kid that at 11 was cast in a Broadway musical.
Wow.
All right. He's been, as a musician, he's been playing with adults since he was 12 years old. But as an athlete, which is what he loves more than anything, he's a much better than average high school player. Right. But as a musician, he's good as an adult. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he's like, Dad, I want to play center field at Yankee Stadium. I'm like, cool. So I played at a really high level, and I know 0 people that played center field at Yankee Stadium. That's how small of a fraction of the population it is.
That's right.
So his name's Ethan. I'm like, Ethan, I'm not telling you shouldn't go to football games. I'm not telling you shouldn't hang out with friends, and I'm not telling you shouldn't have 15 Dr. Peppers in a day. However, your whether you get there or not will be based on your ability to gauge, is this choice taking me there or in a different direction?
Yeah, that's right.
And if you know that none of your friends are going to go there and play at Yankee Stadium, if you find yourself with them all the time, you're not going to go there either. It's just a fact. No. People actually roast me online for saying, "Let your kid be a kid." I'm like, cool. What does that even mean? Because I'd rather raise tough kids than repair broken men all day long.
You make such a good point. I think we're living in a world of everybody ties, right? Like in schools, you can't have a first place, second place, third place winner anymore, because it hurts people's feelings. But the truth is that's real life. Yeah. And if we're not teaching our kids grit, resilience, determination, working to hit goals, giving up things to hit their goals, we're not teaching our kids to be successful, because that is real life and that is what it takes to succeed. So look, I don't think that's for everybody, but I think children and young people and young adults that want to achieve goals, you absolutely must instill that level of commitment in their life. And it is giving up things, right? Yeah. I mean, in my 20s, I didn't get to go to any of my friends' weddings. I didn't get to go to family vacations. I didn't get to go away on weekends because I was working. Yeah. And if you don't learn that from a young age, it's very difficult to teach that to somebody in their 20s and 30s. And
it's, by taking away the winning and the losing, again, when you lose, you have to take responsibility for it, or else you can't change it. That's the big one, right? Yeah. We as parents, often it's all about blame. Oh, your coach was terrible. This person, that there's always an excuse. Yeah. But teaching kids personal responsibility and taking responsibility and being okay with that, right? It's okay that happened. Take the responsibility, move on, and be better next time. Whether you love him or hate him, in one of Grant Cardone's books, he said that, if you get rear-ended, it's your fault because you could have left 5 seconds later or 5 seconds sooner. And it's like, but that's the, if it's somebody else's fault, you've given up the ability to fix it.
And you need to take agency, right, for your own life. That's one thing I always taught. My daughter's an athlete, and she's in a sport where she has an animal involved in her sport. So a lot of the parents, if their child didn't do well, oh, it was the horse's fault. It was, there was always an excuse. I always said to my daughter, it's your fault. And it's not your fault because you did something necessarily wrong, but it's ultimately, you're the athlete.
That's right.
And so finger pointing, none of that serves your children well at all.
I love it. Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe for more, and visit nickhyder.com.